Hello and welcome to our Campfire Dream Bites for today. So good to have you here, my Campfire speakers and anyone listening today. We're going to have a little attunement to begin. So I invite you to relax into your space and go within. It may help if you can close your eyes and just breathe. Notice the breath in and out. Just a moment of moving inward to the body and offering with the gift of imagination, the sense of settling, which may involve sinking into your seat, into your feet, rising upward through the spine, moving inward. And just feel as if you're walking, imagine yourself walking down a path towards an opening in the forest. Feel the soft earth beneath your feet. Maybe there's a pause even just to stand in the forest and listen to the forest sounds. Feel the presence of any creatures that may be here. Hear the sound of the wind in the trees, the water trickling. And today, as we approach the solstice time and we move into the dark of the moon, let's just allow the feet to really feel the earth and to sink into the earth. We're going to be burrowing into the earth today. You feel that connection to the Earth Mother as we walk towards this space, this opening in the trees where there's fire burning. And find in your own time a place where you can warm your hands and warm your heart, maybe even turn around and warm your back. When I come to a campfire, I often feel that I need to turn around and warm my back as well. And noticing this fire is crackling and popping and rising up to the sky. Around the base of the fire, there's a circle of stones, and we give thanks for the stones, especially for their solidness and their groundedness and their quietness and all that they give us, the memories. Looking around, we could see that we're in a circle of trees, in a sacred circle. Wherever there's a circle of trees, we can feel their warmth, their protection, their rootedness, their place between the earth and the sky. And so we give thanks for the trees and the plants and all of their medicines. And we invite the animals, any animals that wish to be here, seen or unseen, here in the northern hemisphere of winter solstice. We are inviting the burrowers, those who burrow into the earth, perhaps for their building of their homes or their safe spaces. They're companions of the roots of the trees. They have a sensitivity to the mother, the life givers. So breathing long, slow cleansing breath into the belly, into the heart. Just feel and imagine a spark from this fire and a gratitude for all these creatures and animals, beings of light. And feel that spark from the fire landing in the center of your chest in your own heart. And gradually begin to feel it warming your own heart, expanding like a sun, like a balloon that continues to expand, filling the whole body, surrounding the body with a golden kind of aura of light. And I'm just going to share a little transmission that I received from the armadillo. Armadillo is a creature of the desert that I don't see here often. I don't see here in Oregon ever. But I have this kind of association and love of the armadillo. And the armadillo is this creature that carries its uh, armor on its back, and it can burrow into the ground in an instant. It can smell the insects 6 inches under the ground, which are some of its food. And it, has a way of protection of curling up into a ball. And this image that the armadillo gave me, armadillo says, "Great mystery is only a mystery because it is so simple. Love for all life is your armor. The chink in your armor is any thought, feeling, or belief that temporarily slows or stops the flow of love and respect for who you really are. When I curl up in a ball of love, I am impervious to any attack of doubt, anger, or fear. Whether it is my own thought or that of another, the solution is the same. Picture a golden ball of light emanating from your core heart, surrounding you and radiating outward. You will be amazed at the power and protection that comes to you and those you love. I keep my belly close to Mother Earth, rooting and listening deeply with my long ears. When you're afraid, listen deeply and breathe the whale breath. Consider also the cougar who knows how to attack my soft underbelly. Remember when you feel attacked that cougar's true purpose is to open you to your own personal power, the natural love, life force, bliss nature, who you really are. As you become aware of your armor, your boundaries, and your sacred place, you will at times have to surrender to the higher power within you. That power is only love. It is given freely from the core of Earth Mother to you all. Thank you, Armadillo.
So good. Oh my gosh. I didn't know how much I needed to hear Armadillo's message just now. I have these little demons in my life lately that come in the form of thoughts or stories or whatever, people that are like that cougar, reminding us of the power of love, how to return non-love with love. And every time we are tested by what maybe brings grief or fear or shock, pain, tenderness, vulnerability, it's a calling back, to that safe burrow of love. So thank you for reminding us of that call back home. Every time there's a distraction. So I saw this morning the invitation to the burrowing animals, and I was like, burrowing animals, huh? The thing that immediately came to mind was two things that probably aren't the usual thoughts of burrowing animals. But I thought I'd share just briefly about that, and then one lovely song. It's interesting, it came as a song. Story about the fox. Because the fox is the burrowing animal that's the closest to us here in Colorado. We see them fairly often, and we see their burrows also fairly often. They do really cool stuff. Like, my friend was building a house, and so they had to dig out their, I guess another story is coming. Okay, so my friend was building their house, and they had to dig out the foundation to make this big house that they were making, and they made a huge pile of soil that later they were going to do other things with. And during the time, it's taken them like almost 4 or 5 years to build their house by hand. And during the time that they've built their house, like right next door to the house, a whole family of foxes have moved into that pile of dirt. And so they've been watching out their windows as they're building, the baby foxes be born, them come out, them play around, So they have these, like, basically their neighborhood, like their house is right next door to this, like, fox home that they made the invitation for. They didn't know they were making an invitation. So maybe that's my my story. Maybe I'm just going to stay with the fox and forget about the tick, um, which has been a big distraction for me. It came as a burrowing animal this fall into my body, and has given me a big medicine reminder of the power of toxins to make us stronger, or to allow us to somehow have to rest and be vulnerable to the reality of what it is to live in a body. Unfortunately, the second tick was infected with Lyme's disease. And I don't know if I'm infected with Lyme's disease, and that's part of the mystery. But I do know that it has been a dance to live with this mystery of this sort of imminent danger. And the other burrowing animal that came to mind immediately is myself, and all of us. We are all burrowing animals. And what happened was, I am in a project called Healing Birth Trauma. And all of us have a variety of birth trauma experiences, which include our prenatal experiences in the womb. And in this particular experience, this past week, I was guided to a moment when I, as a very newly inseminated egg cell, a very newly conceived being, was burrowing into the side of my mother's uterus. I didn't know that that was a stage that I went through. And as I was being guided somatically to remember that experience, I literally did. And I was there burrowing into this amazingly nourishing ground that is inside the womb. And it was very all-embracing experience. And at that moment, my sort of adult aware self that was there also was like, oh my goodness, I'm like the tick. I'm just looking for a safe, nourishing place to be. Having been this spirit in form, I'm just seeking, nourishment. And there's an innocence in that even in that sort of parasitic, in a way, relationship that we have with the Mother Earth and with our own mothers, and that with one another. So just that's a contemplation. I think I'll leave it at that. Appearing and disappearing into the form and the spirit, like David just did.
Oh, maybe I'll go next. I really it's Kasia here, and thank you, Momo, thank you, David. It's fascinating because I was going to jump after David, but you beat me to it, Momo, which is amazing. And I love how you were going to share the tick story and being in burrowing in your mom's womb. And then somehow you started with fox, which is amazing because I actually am coming with the story of fox. So I just thought she picked up my thought process, I think, because I was literally ready to go with the fox in. So it's amazing that you shared the fox. And I just love how things in this group happen, that, it's just so connected. And I think I mentioned on one of the episodes when we mentioned the tick already, I also been initiated by a tick. And it's interesting because I've got Jinky 9, which is in Dream Arc, is connected to tick, and it's in my purpose. So it's like I've had a long, over a decade of in and out, sort of in a normal term, sort of health issues. But I feel it was a huge initiation into something different, and to see and DreamArc really helped me to see that as well, to like see what you just described about tick as us as well, burrowing into our mother's wombs, and the tick just trying to also survive, like to see life like that, all of the life, including the Amarillo and the cougar trying to get underbelly. It's all just one big interconnected, intertwined magic of sometimes struggle, sometimes joy, but all of it is just like, it's a magical one big picture, I would say. So that's what came to me when you were saying, and I really appreciate that, because it's very, it's fascinating how when seeing things like that can make you just not being in a victim perspective too much, and the fear can be like just diminishing or reducing, or you can see things from different. So thank you for offering that again and reminding me as well that whatever needs to be will be with all the initiation and all that comes with it. And I will now go to the fox story, because I love how the fox found me into this episode. I wasn't sure which animal I was going to go for. And then I remembered, like, about a month ago when I went for a walk around my neighborhood, I just saw a fox. Like, and I was just so shocked that it's here. It is quite a little bit away in a little town that I'm in, a little bit away from the center, but still, nevertheless, right in between the houses. And I've never seen fox here, and I've been here for over 10 years. So that was like it stopped me, in my tracks. I was like, whoa, fox. And it was really quick, and it was in the night as well. It was on my night walk. So that was one, and I was just like, oh, I think fox wants to come in. And then I was just like, but I'm not sure with what story. And then I saw somewhere in the social media, or somebody shared with me, the story of this boy who actually rescued a fox from their grandparents' garden that got stuck in the fence. And basically he rescued the fox, nurtured it through the night, like drip feeding it, and just being amazing motherly energy to the fox. And the fox survived, long story short. And the boy, over the years, decided to study, pretty much straight there, but over the years study and completed university as a vet. So he became vet, and that was his sort of amazing initiation via this situation into his destiny. So that was like, ooh, another fox story, interesting. And then they all just started to open up for me, So then I remembered when I was very little, about 5, I went with my parents for one of our just forest walks in the place where I was born. And they went, I think I must have been a little bit tired or something, and I just said, I just want to wait in the car. And my parents were not far at all, but I remember they were like picking some fruits still because it was summer, and there was this fox that just came and started circling around the car. And I remember the fear, absolute terror of like this wild animal, and it felt in my imagination, I think, more than actually in reality. I remember in my imagination that I jumped on the bonnet and it was all wild, but I think this part of the story is more my imagination than actually reality, because I remember my parents came and just like chased him. Oh, Sunny also agreed to this story. My doggy. So yeah, it's basically my parents came and they sort of rescued me. So that was another beautiful, I felt protected, I felt kind of alone to start with, but then protected. So it's amazing because this is the start of the thread of the fox in my life. Then I remember just before we called, but it's chronologically with the timeline of my life, that I was dressed as a fox on one of the like balls, like a Christmassy balls, and I won even a prize for it because I so love being. I had this crazy red wig and like a face, like a fox face mask, and this beautiful, very colorful, like outfit that my mom actually made for me, and she helped me to put it together. Red ties, like full on. I was a fox. I literally like transformed into fox, and I remember the sensation of it being so happy, not from the winning, but from being a fox. So then, like all these years later, I was living in London, and I was working in a pub and coming back very many nights in the night on my bike, in the London crazy busy city that never sleeps. And at 2 a.m. when you come on your bike, it's very different sensation. It's very sort of mystical and quite eerie and sort of like dangerous. There's danger in the air. There's other life just switched from the daylight into the nightlight. And me as like 20-something-year-old is just like experiencing this and being there in the city. I remember being young, therefore I didn't have that much fear, at least conscious. But then I was coming one night from the pub, and basically I was on my bike, and the fox right next to this tiny little cemetery, which again gives even more like sensation to this story, that the fox just ran in front of my bike, almost tipped me over, and then stood a little bit further away from me. And I just skidded on my bike, stood there, like really kind of, my heart was pounding in my chest. So basically, it was such an amazing moment, because at 2 a.m. in this big, crazy city, just me and the fox staring at each other. And then he just looked at me for quite a long while, and I paused at this moment because I was in my own head, coming back, like trying to get home as quick as I can. But I feel there is something there that maybe he just stopped me and rescued me from some sort of danger that was ahead. Or maybe he just helped me to just have a little pause with him together, just to have that connection and reconnect to this story of the fox in my life. Now I'm telling that all these years later. But there was something very magical about that, because not only experiencing the fox in London, I was just so taken back, because I was like, there's a wild fox right in the center of London. This is crazy. And then later on, I found out that there's quite a lot of urban foxes in the cities, which it just fired up my imagination. I just could see this whole fox communities coming together, living as well, like in their little sort of, my mind went completely into imaginary amazing world. Like you could write like a story about foxes' families and different foxes from different regions, and so that opened up to this. But that moment was for me very I really saw it as a symbol, as a really incredible, some sort of a stop moment that I think animals and nature gives us, that like really deep pause and contemplation, and like seeing life from a different perspective, not just going with our human mind. So that was a very significant moment for me. And I feel like I'm gonna just leave it there, because I think I just shared quite a few stories about my foxes with a bit of chaos behind me with my actually doggy. But I loved it. I love how the story came to me, like bit by bit, and unfolded just because we said yes to the burrowing animals, and fox just wanted to come in many different lights. So that's my fox story. Thank you.
I also was like so taken by the idea of burrowing animals, especially at this time of year in the Northern Hemisphere, where we're kind of surrounded by dark and things. And then I was like, when I started looking at how many burrowing animals there are, it was quite amazing. And So I basically sat and contemplated all the different creatures that burrow and the dark season that I'm in here in Canada. And then my vision kind of shifted into um, visions of holding like hot chocolate and steaming mugs and having cozy blankets wrapped around me as I sat in front of the Christmas tree, entranced by the lights of the Christmas tree as probably a kid. And then a memory entered of being a young child. And I was in our laundry room in the basement, and that's where big warm coats hung. And I grew up in Montreal. It was very cold. And I would burrow into these coats and I would feel a soft, luxurious sensation of fur on my cheek. And I know that that feeling just gave me a moment of safety and protection surrounding me. And then my wandering thoughts recollected building snow forts. We would dig snow caves out of the huge piles of snow that the snowblower deposited on our lawns. And it was sort of a safe hidey hole from the winds and cold temperatures. And they were never very deep. They were hard to dig because there was often ice involved and things. But, it was safe. And we as kids would do this for hours, digging into these huge hills. And then I felt polar bear. And the polar bear came and she reminded me that it's the life key that is pulsing now through with gene key 11. So Mama Polar Bear burrows into the snowdrifts and earthen slopes to create a den for birthing her young between November and January. So she's nestled in her snow cave with cubs, and she actually, with her body temperature, keeps the temperature at about 4 degrees Celsius or 40 degrees Fahrenheit while the winter storms rage outside. And she births the babies and feeds them and gets quite lean herself. And she patiently waits for spring before she and her new cubs emerge. And they emerge out of a very small hole in the snow. I was able to find some videos and watch this. It was very cool. So I wanted to bring what Polar Bear speaks to us from the dream arc. And so she says, I ripple with the dream mystery of the far north. In my bones, I hold the mystical secrets of the aurora. One day, when your current incarnation ends, you will be reunited with these beings you love so deeply. So draw strength and courage from this knowing that you are never truly alone. Pull your dream blanket around your shoulders and feel warmed by this knowing. I also teach vision. In your bones, there's a great vision. You have held this vision from the beginning of time. Use this coming time to reconnect with your vision. It is a beautiful personal aurora that hovers all around you. Push aside your emotional struggles, rise beyond your worries, and settle yourself into the rainbow dreaming that hangs over you. You are in a time of inner connection. I call you inwardly now. Come join me in the silence of your inner world. Let us spend time together around the fire. And with these wise words from Mama Polar Bear, I wish every one of you time to pause, to dream, to hold a childlike wonder of the season as the light turns, and you burrow inward and know you are loved.
So beautiful and inspiring. And I have to share that in my monthly animal ponderings, that I chose back on the new moon almost a month ago, the fox is here for the Mother Earth and the dog for the father. So it was interesting to hear the dog's voice while you're speaking of fox. And I always associate the fox with this beautiful energy of family. And when I heard from my dad early in the month. He texted me and he said, "Oh, a fox went through my backyard last night." So, so it came through the lineage, and at the same time, oh, maybe this relates to the polar bear message that we just heard about vision, but the child energy of these three of this that I chose is the hawk. So giving birth from the fox and the dog comes this vision. But when I came to speak today, it was this armadillo. I was very curious about that because I don't live in the desert, but I'm just going to also honor the dream arc um, by sharing a little bit of the armadillo, which is this gift key of trusting restraint. And when we go through the holiday, of course, some people like to follow the solar transit, and I also follow the Earth transit. So as we go through this 58 sun, we're going to be going through this 52 um, Earth, if I'm not mistaken, which will be an armadillo burrowing energy. And the armadillo in the dream arc, I'll just read the middle paragraph because she says, "What does your Mother Earth need of you most right now? Ask her. She is suffering. Spend some time lying on her back so you can hear her sweet whisperings. She wishes to speak directly to your heart. Don't leave her until you have heard what she asks of you. I am Armadillo. Though small and humble, I carry the aeons upon my back. I bring you the huge, dauntless power of restraint. Sometimes what is needed from us is much more simple than we believe. Your mind would have you believe all kinds of things. In fact, life is far more simple. Listen to the grief of the ancestors inside your soul. Let us not make the same mistakes that they made." And so, of course, there's more in the dream arc from the armadillo, but I thought that was so beautiful, so beautiful. And and by way of just honoring the lineages that I draw from with the animals, Jamie Sams offers some contemplation questions around the topic of armadillo and the question of boundaries. And the first one is, am I honoring the time I need for my personal enjoyment? The second is, do others treat me like a doormat? And then, why do I always get upset when I'm taken for granted? And finally, is there a reason for me being a yes person? So these are speaking to me personally, and I just wanted to share them into the field. And thank you so much for this wonderful time together and this wonderful year of contemplation around campfire. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you specifically to Kasia for starting this journey and to Anne for holding it so consistently and presenting it. If there's time for one little more fox story, that was the one I wanted to share. So it's so beautiful again, Kasia, to hear you. I knew, when you said about living in England and London, my experience with the fox, my first really close encounter with the fox, actually it's the second, I have another one, but the second close encounter with the fox was in London. I've only been there to visit another ambassador, Jane Addams, who's a beautiful artist and elder in our community. And I was at her apartment, and her apartment complex is basically right next to the train line. And so it's quite like loud. But between the apartment complex and the train line, there's this little green belt that I guess London creates a green belt, around every train track. And so people have randomly chosen to like make little gardens along the side of that, and they've sort of claimed their spaces. And I was one morning just early, was walking out in the back there behind her apartment on the cement along the path. And I saw these really cool garden that someone had made with all these statuary of different things. There was like a gateway, and there were different animals like little rabbits and things out of cement, that were painted. And there was one of a fox. And I just stopped and I was looking at it. And then all of a sudden it went, like it moved. And it turned its head. And I was like, oh, like I really did not. I thought it was a statue, but it was an actual animal. It was somehow the way the light was. It was anyway, and not only that, like it was so exciting to go like, oh, it's like you're right there. But then right after it, its baby came bouncing out from behind it, like it had sort of felt that, like, oh, this is safe, like I can come out. And the little baby fox came out and was like also looking at me. And anyway, that was a very special, connected to Gene Keys too, like in Dream Arc. It was kind of pre-Dream Arc, but yeah. So just the kiss from the fox. And I loved that your dog came too, because I always think of foxes as sort of this in-between animal, between canine and feline. They're between the cats and the dogs. They're between the dark and the light. They're between the human, domestic and wild. And they really teach us that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Momo. I really quickly just add one more thing. I was going to leave it out, but I can't now. You mentioned urban fox and London again, because in my share, I also wanted to share in the Dream Arc under the fox. Richard actually shares from Art of Contemplation a beautiful fragment and very beautiful invitation to actually, it's called the urban contemplation. And he invites us to go to a very noisy, busy place that we normally would find a little bit maybe overwhelming, or some of us. And basically just to be there, just to like, without any agenda, without any, like shopping center or a train station or even an airport or any place like that. And just to be there, just to like sit there, breathe, without any task to do. Or he even suggests something like, if you go shopping, load the trolley, but then offload the trolley and leave, which I was just like, what? But basically, I just love this invitation, because for me personally, and I know for quite a lot of us here, it's so much easier to obviously find the peace in nature, but it's so much more difficult to find the peace in the urban nature, well, or jungle, let's call it. And this was like the most beautiful invitation of like just to be and just to breathe and just to like really enjoy your own presence until we found the peace within. That's what he's saying. And then next time when we're going to be in such a place, we're going to just remember the same sensation. So we might just find so much more peaceful, so much more at ease. And I just love it. So I would love us to close with this wonderful invitation from Richard Rudd for the urban contemplation. And thank you all so much, and all of you that listen to us and join us for the fire, round the fire, for the stories. We just love you all, and thank you, and see you next year.